Backfocus. I'm Matthew Tucker. Backfocus is the program that takes you on the other side of the camera of Pittsfield Community Television and shows you some of the stuff that happens in the back room and the things that help make the television shows that you watch reality. Now, it's early summer, June to be exact, as you can might be able to tell from behind me. We're here at Third Thursday, and we're taking an opportunity to have a little bit of a fun show here at Backfocus. We are going to talk about one of the big events that PCTV does that's coming up, probably one of our biggest, the Pittsfield 4th of July Parade. PCTV has been covering the parade for almost as long as its entire 25-plus year existence. The parade is, in fact, one of the first shows, if not the first show, that PCTV produced on air. And so there's a long history of really interesting stories that have to do with the parade. So for this fun show, I figured we would talk to some of the institutional memory here at PCTV and get access to some of those stories and learn about some of the things that go into creating that wonderful program you get to watch every July 4th. Now, when people talk about the big three, the World War II buffs are probably thinking FDR, Stalin, and Churchill. But around PCTV, when we're talking the big three, we're talking about the PEG Access Coordinators, Public Access Coordinator Norm Schaffer, Education Access Coordinator Shawn Serre, and Government Access Coordinator David Cachat.
Easy for you to say, Matt.
I should say.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
So which one am I, Stalin or Churchill?
I want to be Churchill.
He wants to be Churchill.
I'll be Roosevelt. Why not? I
Okay.
can walk with a limp.
Okay. I'm fine with being
Oh,
Stalin.
we got that worked out.
Yeah.
Now that we've figured out that particular concern, I want to delve into some of the memories of the 4th of July parade, the production thereof, what went into it, some of the things that we've had to do in the past, because a lot of people are going to be hearing a lot about in the near future what it takes today. But I don't think people realize just how involved the parade was in the past and has been. And so, Shawn, I think we'll start with you because, unless I'm mistaken, you have some of the earliest parade memories, being one of the first non-executive director employee of PCTV.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And I know Dave Cachat here was on the first one that I was on, which was 1992.
Okay.
And that was after a long drought. You probably will see later on, if you stay tuned, some footage from the 1988 parade that Bernie Valley was involved with.
Okay.
But I'll tell you about the 1992 parade. That was something where, after quite a while of not doing it and having PBS cover it here in Pittsfield, and people probably remember some of those nationwide broadcasts, that time of the year, that time was sort of over, and people looked to us at Pittsfield Community Television and said, well, can you guys pick up the slack? Can you give us a televised parade that we can watch here in Pittsfield? And it took us a few months to pull it together, and again, having never done a parade, and that was probably at that time the largest production that we had ever tried to pull together. Again, early 90s, so you think about computer graphics hadn't been very widespread yet, and certainly if they were, they weren't within our price range. We were just a little tiny TV station. So we brought in the talents of a place called Golden Lamb Productions.
Okay.
And we brought in a lot of local businesses that helped us with a flatbed truck and a rider truck and loaned air conditioners and all kinds of different stuff that we sort of cobbled this thing together, and yet we pulled off what I thought at the time was a pretty slick looking production, and it was fun. The very next year in 1993 we got soaked, and we were down at the end of North Street, I guess more like closer to the hospital end of North Street, and it was just, again, an outside broadcast, what we call in the business, something where you're bringing, sort of like today, where you're bringing your cameras out and you've got your talent out on a flatbed truck, and you're out in the elements. All kinds of things can go right, and all kinds of things can go wrong. But at the end of the day, we still went live with the parade. People at home still got a chance to watch it. It was a pretty decent coverage, and every year since then, I think we've made a little bit of stride to make the parade that much better.
And I think to follow up on your point, Sean, the 92 parade and the 93 parade where we got soaked, people have to understand we didn't have a separate truck and a separate studio. Everything PCTV owned was out on the street.
And in that truck.
Really?
So when it was soaked, everything but the lights in our studio, everything, every microphone, every cable, every VCR deck, everything you could possibly imagine was on the street. So it's getting soaked. So you realize you're not just affecting today's parade coverage, but you could be affecting, if this thing shorts out, you could be affecting the city council meetings, the Jerry's Places, all the other shows that were still happening on PCTV. So, that's what made it kind of an involved shoot. But
And I would say over the years, we also tried a variety of different methods of getting that parade done. So the rider truck was one method that we used.
Yep.
We borrowed trucks from CTSB in South County.
Didn't we get a Winnebago?
We had a Winnebago one year.
Yeah.
All kinds of different things to make the production of it, which most people didn't see, more palatable for our crew, at least to make it work better. And that was still, at that point, we're still preparing all the wiring and connecting everything and making sure everything works for sometimes a week, 2 weeks before the actual event. Whereas now, a lot of that is sort of tied all together and ready to go in the form of our mobile production vehicle.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
The rain out.
Yeah.
I came in 94, so.
Oh, 94 was your first one?
Yep.
But Norm, you must have seen over the years some pretty bad weather out there for these parades.
Yeah, I remember the tornado.
Tornado. Yeah.
Tornado?
Yeah.
There's 98.
Kind of a supercell.
Yeah,
I don't think we actually had a tornado in Pittsfield.
Brady called it a
right?
tornado.
Hey, it was bad because I remember I was down at CTSB at the time working, and I think it was either 97 or 98.
Because they had the big one in 95 down
Because it was the July 3rd it hit, because 95 was the big one, yeah. And I remember I was like, God, I'm glad I'm not out setting up the parade right now. And that's the other thing, too, that people, I think, don't understand is that the parade happens on July 4th at 10 a.m. We're there on site July 3rd.
And
roughly,
occasionally spending the night there.
in the past, it used to
It's how
be...
you had done money at a time.
Yeah. In the past, it used to be if you were lucky, you were done by midnight or so,
Wow.
getting ready, and then somebody would stick around with the equipment all morning, all night long.
That'd
I know
be me.
Norm did it. Rob Dumais did it one year. One of the
Gary
last
Crippa
years.
and I did it quite a
Gary
few times.
Crippa, and that I don't have those stories, but I'm sure you can.
Oh, it
speak
was
of-
interesting.
Yeah, just sitting alone on North Street.
You'd be surprised it comes out at midnight on North Street.
And I think people...
And there's no sleep, by the way.
No.
Oh my.
It's nice to be able to tell people, too, that videotaping something with multiple cameras and sound and a live television feed and everything like that is different than holding up a camcorder and videotaping the parade. Announcers is another thing. A lot of moving parts to a production like that. And while it's exciting and it's fun, any number of things that could go wrong sort of fall over like dominoes. And so if you don't have sort of the right people in place with the knowledge to do those things, to fix those things in time, you could be in a lot of trouble. And that's what we learned in the early years. And since then, I think that we've really built up this cadre of very experienced parade production people. I mean, you should tell me
Experience
something we
would be the
haven't
word,
seen at this
yeah.
point. I don't know what it is.
And that's what I'm scared of. If you say, give us something we haven't seen
Is this
yet.
table made of wood?
Yeah, because that is scary to think of.
Close enough.
Yeah, because getting to some of the other stuff we've talked about, we've had bad weather, we've had equipment die on us, we've had loss of power just before parade starts or during parades. Like I said, we've lost cameras during parades. You name it, we got it. There was a lot of stuff.
I almost got knocked off the overhead one year.
We got Norm almost getting knocked out of the overhead camera. He ran that one for a few years.
Yes, and then Bernie tried to bring me down and
I
drop
think
me.
didn't Ryan Cowdery's brother get attacked by a swarm of bees?
up on top of the roof there.
Yeah, up on 7
I
stories
seem
up
to
a
recall
building,
that
he's
story.
being attacked by bees. So we've had plague and pestilence so far at the parade.
Just waiting for the frogs now
Yeah,
to fall
that's
out of the
right.
sky.
Haven't
We've
had
had-
snow yet, though.
We
Thank
haven't
God.
had snow. That's
No
a good
snow.
spot. We've had Sean rollerblading back to the site.
I have done that.
We have done that. That was a particular year where the entire area of where Federico Drive was, where our building is, without power. That entire
lost
area,
power.
without any power down there.
So actually, at the parade site, we were fine. But
Yeah.
if we wanted a live parade where everybody in the system could
which
actually
is
Which is
preferable.
why we
see
do
it,
it, right.
something had to get fixed.
Yeah.
Oh
So-
wow.
Yeah.
So the rollerblade queen out there going
Yeah.
down the street to
Well,
take care of it.
Yeah.
The streets were kind of packed, and I had just taken up rollerblading. We won't get into that as a story right now.
No.
But I
You
needed
probably
to
don't wanna
get,
know
and
about
I had
that.
to park a long distance away from where our truck was, so that seemed to me the quickest way to get back to my car.
Okay.
And that's what I did. And then I drove barefoot back to the studio
Yeah.
because I didn't have my shoes.
There was one night, I believe there was one night in 2004 or so, 2002, 2003, 2004, where Shawn was the last one to leave at July 3rd. We were setting up, and we were there so long, we went to dinner, we came back, we did some more prep work, and then it was, we all set, and Shawn's like, well, it's got a few more things to go, but you guys go ahead, I'll see you tomorrow morning. So we all left and went home, and then that's when Shawn stuck around, did some more wiring and testing. That's when he realized that he didn't have a car.
That I
'cause he-
drove the truck.
He drove the Ryder truck to the site, so now he had to
Oh
walk
my.
all the way home, at 9 or 10 o'clock at night on July 3rd across the city of Pittsfield back to his house, because, yeah. So we've done that before. We've left crew members behind.
So those are some of the fun stories, but
Now,
you probably want to ask us, though, about how this
good
parade actually gets done, because we could go on and on for hours here about
I think-
the stories that we've
Yeah.
had. But, again, talk about maybe how we get from one point, which is, nothing done, to end of the day, we have a parade on tape, and it's been a live shoot.
Tape?
Yeah.
We still use tape?
No, honestly, we
well,
don't.
that's an interesting,
Yeah, we don't.
completely
I
different
don't play
topic.
tapes on my channel
No,
anymore.
we don't have
But-
tapes. We don't even have tapes.
And technology has changed
Yeah.
over these years.
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is probably of great interest to the viewers now is we've gone through these sort of horror stories, and that was a great segue touching in that we want to talk about the process and the stories of where it has gone in the past to bring it to the people, because people don't get to hear these horror stories, but
only horror if you let 'em.
they don't realize that all of this stuff is happening to give them the generally gorgeous looking product that they get every year. So what are the steps that have been taken in the past that have created to evolve to the parade that people see today?
Well, I think the first thing you have to think about is the site, where it is that you're going to shoot from, and we sort of build from there. So over the years, that's changed. It started out, as we mentioned before, on Upper North Street near where Tailored Sound used to be, in that area of North Street. And some of that is reliant on where we can get a live feed, because we don't have a satellite truck, although one year we did have, we did
wow.
rent a satellite truck, and we went nationwide on Armed Forces Television.
Wow.
That's another story. But and then for many, many years we were on Park Square, either right on the circle or off the circle near where the old RSVP gazebo used to be. So sort
Okay.
of tucked in there near the courthouse, and that was our home for many, many years.
Yeah.
The traffic pattern changed when North Street changed, and the traffic changed, and it was no longer a good place to be, so we moved to right in front of the Berkshire Common.
That was what,
which
3
is
years ago now? 4?
The Crown
This
Plaza
is our
Hotel.
4th year in that location?
Probably about 4 years,
Yeah.
yeah. So it kind of starts with that, and then you sort of build around that, and you say, okay, now that I have my location, where are we going to put our cameras? And we try to get a variety of good shots for people, and I've directed the parade for a number of years, and I try to pick shots that we can sort of bring people in closer to the parade. Start out with maybe a nice wide shot where you see the grandeur of the day, and the beauty of the street and everyone, the vendors and the people and everything. We bring you in a little bit closer, and we show you sort of the entire unit that's coming down, whether it's a band or a float or Armed Forces flag unit or whatever.
Live television outside.
Oh,
We have a
exactly.
fuzzy.
I get distracted easy. Squirrel! Squirrel.
And then, the beauty of television production is that then we get to bring you in even closer. And we have a couple of really fantastic shots, one of which is a 25-foot jib arm, and a second one is a handheld camera that gets you right up close. And I mean, right in some of the faces and some of the beautiful floats, right, sometimes even on the floats that go by. And then as quickly as the parade is going by, we bring you back to the next shot, and we show you what's happening after that. And I know Norm and Dave can give you some more insight into that as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think over the years that you've like I said, you focus on the direction part of it. We kind of all, as a staff, and even some of our volunteer members, sort of weigh in before the parade as to where the cameras are going to go, what they should look like.
Production
And,
meeting.
Yeah, so it's been kind of nice in this fact that it's been a bunch of us. We'll go out and like you said, we're kind of hamstrung in the fact that since we have to go live, there's only certain spots. So we have a live connection at the Crown Plaza, the Athenaeum, St. Joseph.
Here.
Here through City Hall. So therefore, you can only pick from a few spots. All right, so what's the best looking one of those? And to Sean's point, okay, where are we going to get a camera up high? Some years, Norm can certainly speak to it, was in a bucket truck.
Yes.
Yeah, because
About
cherry
7
picker,
or
bucket truck.
cherry picker, scissor lifts. We've done all those kind of things.
Very scary up there.
Yeah, we've done cameras on the roof of the Crown Plaza, so you're 12, 13, 14 stories up. Looks beautiful. Very scary shot.
If you're bold enough
If
to
you're
be the
bold
camera
enough, yeah.
operator.
Right
7
now,
North Street?
7 North Street, the district attorney building around the corner here, is our sort of current big shot that we take, and we have an operator who sits up there.
We didn't win that helicopter though, did we?
No, we didn't get a helicopter. We don't get a camera in the flyover. It'd be kind of cool to get that kind of shot.
That would be
coming.
pretty neat.
We're working on it.
We're working on
That's
that.
usually got by the guy on the roof.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then from there, to your point, we then break it out and go, okay, how's this going to look across the street? Will be a crowd there? Will be nice plants? Will be a shot of the Park Square fountain? Will it be a shot of, you want to make it look as good as it can for the people at home. And then from there, as a person I think I've done every job possible on a parade on the parade shoot. I think I'm one of the only ones who've probably tech directed graphics. I've done a little bit of sound. I've run handheld camera. I've done the jib. I haven't done the bucket truck, honestly. I never did a high
God bless
camera.
you.
I never did the bucket camera.
We'll mark that down.
We'll mark that down, yeah. So certainly I can
Dave,
speak
high
to the
spot.
the handheld camera alone is something, like you said, you can't get anywhere else because
Even if you're watching the parade from the sidelines, you're not ever going to see shots like that.
And as running handheld, I know Bernie has run, and we've had Matt Kibbe, we've had Norm, we've had a number of people. Paul Derwin, we've had a number of people run the handheld. And what we tell them basically is the same thing: get cool shots for people at home. So you're literally in windows of cars as they're driving by. You're
Laying
up
in
on
the street.
fire hop. Yeah, you're laying in the street in the middle of bands going past you. Laying down. You got cars. You got cameras underneath cars as they're coming by.
That's a fun shot.
Yeah, and that's like I said. Even if you're sitting at the parade site with a camcorder of your own, you're not going to get that shot. And you don't have a microphone on the camera, so when a guy's passing hitting the bass drum, we have a microphone that's 6 inches away from that bass drum, and you're going to be able to hear it and feel it in your house. So, it's always kind of a cool thing we can do at the parade.
And that's thanks to the wizardry of our longtime sound guy on the parade, John Williams, who's done many, many years of work. And of course, Rob DeMay has done a good amount of work with us as well in sound, and he's sort of our utility person when it comes to parade stuff. But I also, Dave, want to talk about the pre-production that goes into the parade. And again, it's something that people won't necessarily know about at home, I guess, unless we didn't do our jobs well.
Right.
True.
Because the kinds of things that happen in pre-production are the things like figuring out technically if we have enough cameras and wires and all the power and everything else that we need to make the parade work.
Crew.
The people to run them.
Make sure you have enough crew.
There are things that we call video packages, which you and Ryan Cowdery work quite a bit on, and other people have done in the past as well, to make sure that when we need to play something that's been pre-produced, it's there and it's ready to play. Graphics. We get a script from the parade committee that shows us every unit and then every description of that unit, and all those need to be loaded into a graphics machine. There are sometimes 180 or 200 different units, and each one of those needs its own graphic. That doesn't happen the day of the parade. That happens well in advance of it, as soon as we get the information, as a matter of fact.
And you forgot the most important part.
He has to program it on his channel.
No, that too, but the coffee and donuts in the morning.
Coffee and donuts in the morning.
And the fetus during the course of the parade.
Got to take care of the crew.
Yeah.
That's Jody's job. You got to put that
and
in.
we do have to mention too that this is a volunteer crew for a very significant part of it. It's a big enough parade and a big enough production, I should say, that all of our staff pretty much is involved in it. But when I say all of our staff, it's 7 people.
Right.
So it takes many, many more people over the course of that 2 weeks of pre-production and then during the parade itself to make this thing happen. So there's many, many volunteers from this community involved in making that parade possible for everybody to see at home.
And I think another point, Matt, you were talking about how the parade has evolved over the years. In the past, we were happy just making sure we got the parade on the air. Then we started adding a little pre-show where we'd have the host talk for a while. And we would kind of use that as a way of testing the live feed to make sure everything worked before the parade started. And then it was like, well, we feel confident the parade's going to work and the pre-show's going to work. Let's add some more stuff to it. So now we've added in roll-ins, and I'd say the last 5 or 6 years, Barrington Stage with their junior company has come and performed during the pre-show, and I think they're doing that again this year.
Yes.
Little Mermaid show this year. I think
Yes.
yeah. So in the past
She's in the street.
in the past we've had High School Musical and all the other Elvis rockabilly stuff, and it's been great. But again, it shows that we've gone to, okay, the parade we got down, we know what we're doing. Let's do a pre-show and make it all tie together for the people at home. Because unless you're sitting in front of our location, you don't see the Barrington Stage performance, and unless you're at home. If you're sitting down where we are down here at Dunham Mall or down further the parade route, you never see that performance.
Yeah.
And it is something that's time shifted as well. So
Right.
because it has to happen for our purposes before the road race comes by our position.
As
Who
we've
runs this
learned.
over
As we've
during
learned.
production?
You don't
as we
want the
learned.
road race running into Barrington Stage. So we
No.
shoot
Right.
that ahead of time, put it in the can, as we say, and then play it at the appropriate time, maybe a half an hour, 20 minutes before the parade actually starts on the air.
Yep.
And I guess I'll throw one more thing in there, too,
Sure.
which is all the things that happen after the parade.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
Stuff
and
happens after too?
Yeah.
after
What?
it doesn't just pack itself up. So
No.
there's a couple of hours of pack up, and then when we get back to the station, there's a few more hours of putting things away, and then there's the programming, as Norm mentioned, making
Yep.
sure that the parade can play again and again, because people love watching it on TV, especially the people that were in the parade live. They want to see it played back again.
Yep.
And then we get many requests for copies of the parade, and we do a very nice packaging of the parade that people can contact PCTV to get their own DVD copy of the parade, and we get many, many requests for that. So that goes on for a number of weeks. After
Yeah.
everybody has really forgotten about the 4th of July parade,
Yes.
we're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to say. It's a whole package of time for
And
us.
I think it's playing back at 8 o'clock that night.
Wow.
July 4th, 8 p.m. Tune in.
Yeah, I believe that's when the playback
Yeah.
is.
Now, in the old days when we had, when I mentioned before, we had to take every piece of equipment we owned in a rider truck. That sounds great in theory, but again, to Sean's point, okay, the parade's over. Now we got to haul all this back in there and sit there and go, okay, now what? So July 5th, we'd go back to work and spend the entire 8 to 12 hours in a day putting our studio back together, because potentially July 6th we'd have a show, or whatever the case may be. It was
Right.
another full
Or the Monday afterwards.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
honestly, we had to get the rider truck back to the rental company on most of the time.
Yes.
So
Things don't slow down, and it doesn't matter how tired we are. If something's happening the next day,
yeah.
we're back to business.
So, you don't want to sound like a whiner, but when someone says, hey, aren't you glad the parade's over at noontime on the 4th? And it's like, well, we're just kind of starting. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just
we're still
kinda
we're still
starting.
12, 15 hours away from being done.
From being done, totally at the end of the day. So,
But it's a big production, and I mean, I think I speak for everyone when I say we live for the big production.
yes.
As long as there isn't another big production on July 5th.
Right, right
I think
behind
we
it.
all got to
No.
take our foot off the gas a little bit.
That
but
was a good story, because one year we did a baseball game
Yes.
the night of July 3rd.
That's right.
Really?
Or July 2nd.
July 2nd.
July
Yeah.
2nd we
Then
did the
set up.
game.
We set up
did
on the 3rd.
It was an oldies game at Wacona Park, one of the vintage old-time baseball games, late night, the 2nd, with the truck. Got up the 3rd, set up for the parade, got the 4th, set the parade, and
Right.
came back the 5th to put the parade away.
And if anyone's ever done sports with us, they know that that's a big production.
Yeah.
It certainly
Oh,
is.
man.
Yeah. And
All that
baseball's
cabling across the roof there
off
of
the
Wacona
roof of
Park.
Wacona Park, and then thinking to yourself, well, we got to do this again tomorrow down the street at Park Square. And so that was a fun year. I don't know what we were thinking, but it was a fun year.
We were younger then.
That's right. We weren't much younger. I
Might
had
have.
more hair.
That might have been it.
Yeah, I
The-
had more hair back then.
We've discussed the evolution of the parade during these stories of the history of PCTV's coverage. And one of the things that Shawn mentioned, the fact that people can't see the shots that they get from the sideline or from their camera. What has PCTV done in an evolutionary state to allow people who can't be here see it? And what are the limits of that? Because I think,
Yeah.
the basis was Pittsfield, but it
Yeah.
didn't stop there.
No.
No, that's an excellent question, too.
I think we've gone over the years of being just a Pittsfield, Dalton, Richmond, Time Warner, Channel 16 parade to being a, why can't I see this on the internet, to, okay, we'll put it on the internet for you on our live stream, to, okay, well, that's not powerful enough. What can you do for us now in the future? And I know this year we're gonna certainly try to step up our game in that respect and put a better coverage and a better bandwidth model together for our coverage for people at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not easy, and to do the kind of streaming, web streaming that you need to do for something like this, and people, I think, don't also grasp the number of people that want to jump on and watch this on the internet, wherever they are. Some people are here in Pittsfield. Some people are across the country. We've had
Texas.
Worldwide
Texas,
people
plenty of
try
Texas.
to watch this.
Florida.
So if
Florida,
you get,
a lot of Floridas.
I've heard instances where our members of sister cities have tried to tune in and watch.
So, you know,
Casa.
potentially you're in the
Florida.
thousands of people that all want to watch this all at one time. And if that happens, our bandwidth, what we have at PCTV just is not sufficient. So in that case, what we have to do is look elsewhere to a provider that can temporarily give us that bandwidth to let all these people enjoy the streaming without sort of interruption and without a really poor experience. We want them to have a good experience whether they go on our channel and watch it or whether they go on the web and watch it. And so this year, I think people will see a big improvement in that, in both the quality of it and the reliability of the stream. When they tune in to watch it, they will see a good picture.
And in addition to the web, I know the parade has expanded in its scope in Berkshire County for cable viewers.
Yes. Yeah, this is for the last few years, basically ever since the Time Warner merger or takeover of the other cable systems throughout the county, we've been able to go live throughout Berkshire County, which was always kind of our dream of ours because we used to have to delay it by a day or two to those other facilities.
Right.
It had to wait for a physical tape to be dropped off. Sometime it'd be that day if we happen to know somebody would pick the tape up. It'd be the next day or July 6th or 7th.
They call that the bicycle network.
Bicycle network, because someone had to physically come up
That
from
was a hell
Lee
of
or
a pedal
down.
too. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you know, and that became, you know, cumbersome. And and in this day and age, people don't expect that anymore. It's tough to say to people, well, I have Time Warner and you have Time Warner, why can't I see the parade? So thanks to our friends at Time Warner, it was able to be seen everywhere.
Now they can.
Now they
That's
can.
really cool.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure spending the last half hour chatting with you about your memories of the parade. Norm Schaffer, David Cachat, Shawn Serre, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Thanks
you
for
very
having
much.
us, Matt.
And thank you so much for joining me here on Backfocus. Backfocus takes you on the other side of PCTV's cameras and gives you some of the stories, events, and visions of what it is that brings television programs to you. Now, just a friendly reminder, in addition to being a staff person, I'm also a community producer, and you can be too. In order to begin producing programming at Pittsfield Community Television, stop down at the station or give us a call, 445-4234. Until next time, this has been Matthew Tucker. Thank you for watching Backfocus.